If I'm sitting across from you, or if you're listening to me while pacing your kitchen or sitting in a parked car after the message arrived, and the sentence you just got was, "I love you, but we shouldn't be together," then I want to give you something before anything else. I want to give you the trajectory, because there is a trajectory from this sentence. There is a place this sentence takes people a year out, and there is a place it takes people 5 years out. And the difference between those two places is not whether the person ever came back. The difference is whether you understood the sentence. Let me say that again. The difference is whether you understood the sentence. And I can tell you from the seats I have sat in, 5 million of them, give or take, in rooms across this country and others, most people hear that sentence and they read it as a verdict. They read it as a ruling about them. They read it as the end of the story. And because they read it as the end, they spend the next 18 months inside the verdict, defending a courtroom that was never theirs in the first place. But that sentence is not a verdict. That sentence is a manual. And once you read it as a manual, the next 6 months of your life get very different. Let me give you the first accurate example so you can feel how this works. If I'm at dinner with you tomorrow night and you tell me that you just got that sentence and I say, "Did they mean it?" you would hesitate before you answer. Because somewhere inside you already know the answer. They meant it the way a person who is drowning means the boarding plank they just pushed away. They are not trying to hurt you. They are trying to be alive one more minute. They love you. The love is real. The leaving is also real. The love and the leaving are running on the same engine. Now let me be honest with you. I'm not going to give you the column A, column B layout of an avoidant tonight. I'm not going to give you a clockwork diagram of an attachment style and then close the laptop. I'm going to give you what's happening inside that other person's body, because what is happening inside the other person's body is the only thing that will set you free. And the only way to know that is to know that what they are doing is not what it looks like. Here's the truth. The avoidant didn't leave because they didn't love you. The avoidant didn't leave because they found someone better. The avoidant didn't leave because you were too much or too little, or because you said something wrong one night when you shouldn't have. The avoidant left because in their body the love itself became the threat, the proximity, the consistency, the texture of being known. The way you asked how they were and actually waited for the answer. The way your body was in their house every night, registering as the most dangerous thing a person like them can hold, a presence that is not leaving. But here's the thing. The presence that is not leaving is the same presence that they spent the first decade of their life being told, in 100 subtle and not subtle ways, was about to leave. They were taught, because nobody had taught them any different, that to be loved is to be primed to be dropped. So the body decided, don't let the love get past the gate. Stage it at the door. Receive it as a stranger. The body learned the geometry. Be close. Then leave. That is the geometry they are now living in. You are not the second. You are not the third. You are the geometry. The same way a soldier crossing an open field doesn't always register the field as a field. He registers it as the open place where the next one comes from. Not because the field is dangerous. Because his body was trained to expect the next thing to come from there. So when the partner of an avoidance says, "But they swore they loved me," what they are saying is correct. They did love them. They also believed, somewhere in the tissue of their body, that the loving was the prelude to being wrecked. The loving was the engine, the wrecking was the result. So they shut down the engine. The shutting down of the engine is what you got. And it's not cruel. It's also not something they can decide out of. It's the body's only literate move inside the protocol they were given. You cannot conversation you your way out of a body that has been telling you since you were 4 years old that to be held by another is to be canceled. Now listen. I want to show you what is happening on the inside of this sentence for them, because seeing it from the inside is going to give you back the next 6 months of your life. They are walking into their own deactivation. They are doing the walk that their body has rehearsed since they were children. Show up, hold for a while, sense the closeness, feel the breath get shorter. Hear the voice in their head say, "This is now the thing that is too much. Step back." Perform the step back as something about space or timing or care for the other person. The performance is fluent. They They may be fluent in the performance for years, and inside that fluency, they are not lying to you. They are telling you the only thing they know how to tell you, which is that the body is preparing to disengage, and the only way it knows how to prepare is to disengage. So the sentence, "I love you, but we shouldn't be together," is not a contradiction. It is a sequence. One half is the truth the heart knows. The other half is the truth the body is enforcing. They are both in the same room. And inside that room, you are not the cause. You are the weather. Let me say that again. You are not the cause. You are the weather. They stepped into rain that was coming anyway. They were going to step out of it. They would have stepped out of it with whoever they were inside at the time. The pattern is older than you. The pattern is bigger than you. The pattern will outlast you unless you decide right now that you are not going to let it. And now I want to give you the spine of what's happening inside you. Because the spine of what's happening inside you is where the recovery is going to live or die. And the spine is mechanical. The spine is not mysterious. There are 3 decisions you make every moment of your life. The first decision is what to focus on. The second decision is what this means. The third decision is what you are going to do about it. Now let me be very careful with you on this one, because these 3 decisions are the gears that are running the engine that is currently running your next hour. Every thought you have right now, including the one narrating inside the back of your head while you listen to me, came out of those 3 decisions in some sequence, in some shape. The question you are replaying in your head: do they love me? Why did they leave? Was it something I did? Were they ever even in it? 3 decisions. You chose the focus. You chose what it meant. You chose what to do. And what you chose to do when you chose it was to keep asking the question that was going to keep you inside the same spin cycle for the next 6 months. Now let's go to the first decision, what to focus on. This is the master decision. This is the one that, when you change it, changes everything. Right now, your focus is living inside their words. Their last sentence, the look on their face, the inflection of their voice when they said, "but." Whether they cried, whether they didn't, whether they meant it, whether they didn't, that is the focus. And that focus is a prison cell built out of the most luxurious material in the world. The material of someone you love being present in the back of your head. Because it feels like connection. It is not. It is captivity. So what do I mean by that? I mean that the focus is the lens. The entire rest of the experience is rendered through. You can change the sentence without changing them. You can change what the sentence does inside your body without changing what they did. You can change the experience you are having of their leaving without changing whether they left. And that change is bigger than you realize right now. Because the change is not a trick. The change is the actual mechanism by which a human being gets a life back. Focus is the master key. Focus is the lens. Focus determines everything. Now, let's go to the second decision, what this means. So here's a real question. What's behind the story you're telling yourself about them? It's your state, your mental, your emotional state. Because the same event, the same sentence, in the same voice, on the same night, in one state is a verdict, in another state is a beginning, in another state is a graduation, in another state is a relief, in another state is a death. The same words. The only thing that changed is you on the receiving end of them. In a state of panic, we shouldn't be together registers as catastrophe. In a state of curiosity, it registers as architecture. In a state of grief, it registers as loss. In a state of compassion, it registers as a person at war with their own self trying to love someone without being consumed by loving them. It's the same sentence, different you. And the you on the receiving end of that sentence is the only one of those 2 humans that you actually have jurisdiction over. The third decision, what you're going to do about it. This is where most people stall. Because the third decision, made unconsciously, looks like this. I am going to spend the next 4 months missing them while pretending I am not missing them. I am going to make sure I am in their orbit. I am going to keep the wound at a specific size so that the love feels still alive without ever being present. I am going to choose every action in service of proving to my own nervous system that I am still okay. That is the unconscious third decision, and it does not feel unconscious from inside. It feels like a fate. It feels like a sentence that was already passed on you. It feels like there is no other move. There is another move. Because here's what I know. The other move is, I am going to use the next 4 months to discover what is inside me that registers someone else's unavailability as a referendum on my value. I am going to do that because 2 is data and 1 is a sample size too small to learn from. I am going to do that because the recovery is not contingent on whether they come back. The recovery is contingent on whether I can become a person whose life doesn't need them back to feel complete. The first version of the third decision keeps you small for the rest of your life. The second version of it sets you free. It's not ability, it's motive. The right motive. And when your motive is large enough, your action becomes non-negotiable. When your motive is small, no action works. I have watched this. I have watched 1,300 SAT scorers not be able to schedule their morning. I have watched billionaires not be able to schedule a conversation with their spouse. The motive determines the action. If you do not have a motive large enough, a motive that is going to outlive their name, a motive that is bigger than winning them back, you will not act, and the next 4 months will look exactly like the last 4 months. So let me ask you the question and answer it for you anyway. What is the motive large enough? The motive large enough is the one that pulls you out of your body into your life. The motive large enough is the one that says you are not going to let their leaving be the thing that defined your next decade. The motive large enough is the one that makes you decide tonight that you are going to become a different kind of human by the time they're a year old in your memory. And now I want to name 3 specific distortions the listener, the you right now, is almost certainly living inside of. I want to name them clinical because clinical naming takes the steam out of them. They cannot survive once they are seen. Distortion 1. Focus on what's gone. The voice, the touch, the pattern of texting, the way their name once made your breath do something, the way a song used to be a song and now it's the soundtrack of a wound. The focus on what's gone is the most natural focus a human being has when they have just lost something they wanted to keep. It is also the focus that, if you let it run unimpeded, will eat a year of your life without you noticing it. Distortion 2. Focus on what you missed, the text you shouldn't have sent. The text you should have sent, the word you used, the night you were tired and didn't engage, the arguable moment, the recoverable moment. The moment you believe, if you can only rewind it enough times, would have changed everything. This distortion is even more brutal than the first one, because the first one grieves the loss and the second one prosecutes you for the loss. And inside that prosecution, you are simultaneously the grieving widow and the chief defendant. You cannot heal from a verdict you are both delivering and serving. Distortion 3. Focus on whether they will return, and this is the cruelest focus of all. The question does not resolve. The answer is not within your reach. They may come back. They may not. They may come back and deactivate and leave again. The question is the trigger, and the question is the trap. And every time you check their social, every time you draft a message and delete it, every time you run their name through a search engine, you are not getting closer to the answer. You are feeding the question. You are feeding the focus. You are feeding the engine that is going to keep you small for the rest of your life. These 3 distortions are not independent. They are one engine with 3 gears, gears that turn one another, gears that burn fuel that you don't have to spare. We don't experience life. We experience the life we focus on. There's a million things happening at once in this room right now, and most of them you'll never notice. The way the air is moving, the way your jaw is clenched, the way your chest feels tighter on the inhale than on the exhale, the fact that your hand keeps reaching for the phone that you already decided not to reach for. The fact that you have been waiting for me to tell you it's okay for the last 9 minutes. And I'm not going to tell you that because okay is exactly the wrong destination. The destination is bigger than okay. The destination is a different you. Now let me give you the inversion. Listen carefully. If you focus on what you can't control, your energy goes there. If you control what you focus on, you control your life. Both worlds exist. The external we can only influence, the internal we can control. That is one inversion. Hold it. Now, imagine a Spitfire in the air above the English Channel in 1940. There's a propeller spinning out in front. Beautiful, powerful. The entire plane is generated by the propeller. And here's what I want you to feel. If you're trying to lose weight, you can't run from your diet. That's not the metaphor. Here's the metaphor. The propeller is the engine of the plane. The propeller also kills you. If the plane is upside down, the propeller is the thing that takes your head off. There's nothing wrong with the propeller. The propeller is doing what a propeller does. But in the wrong orientation of the body, the propeller becomes the thing that ends you. That is love in an avoidance body. The same love that should have kept them alive becomes the love that, in the wrong orientation of their nervous system, takes them apart. And so they live trying to keep the propeller pointing in the right direction. And the only way they know how to keep the propeller pointing in the right direction is to disengage the engine, disengage the love, disengage the closeness, which means we shouldn't be together. I know that sounds like cruelty. It is not cruelty. It is mechanical. It is a body at war with its own engine, trying to live one more minute without being torn apart. You'll never look at that sentence the same way. Now, I want to give you the second analogy. Steph Curry. I am not using this as a bit. I am using this as a precise image. Steph Curry, by most reasonable counting, takes around 500 shots a day, 7 days a week, for 15 plus years. The total number lives somewhere north of 2 million shots taken. The number of makes lives somewhere north of 3,600. He is not the most physically gifted player the league will ever produce. He's 10% of 1% of 1% on a physical level. And he is the most valuable shooter in the history of his sport. Why? Because he's the most consistent. Because he gets up every morning and takes the shots. Because 1,000 of the shots miss. Because the 1,000 that miss are not interpreted by his body, by his mind, by his story as a referendum on his worth. The 1,000 that miss are entries in a ledger that's going to pay out before he is done. You fool no one. The total number of times you have done the thing, the boundary you held, the moment you didn't text, the morning you got up instead of staying in bed, the conversation you finished instead of retreating, those are Steph Curry's shots. Some of them hit, most of them don't. The miss is not the verdict. The body of work is the verdict. You're going to shoot 1,100 shots in your recovery. A lot of them are going to land in the wrong place. The shots that don't land are not the testimony about whether the relationship could have been saved. The shots that don't land are the testimony that you're becoming a person with a craft. The craft of being okay when someone you love disappears on you. That craft will save your life. Not metaphorically, literally. Now I want to spend a quiet moment with you. Quieter than what I've been doing. Quieter than the analogies and the inversions. Almost quiet as a hallway in a house where nobody is yelling. Here's where the listener, if they are listening honestly, quietly cries. If you are like most of the people I have sat with in the last 38 years of doing this, if somewhere in the last 10 years, the last 20 years, someone you loved told you they had to leave, then you told yourself a story about that leaving. And the story, the one you've been carrying, sounds roughly like one of these. I wasn't enough. I was too much. I'll never be chosen fully. Love is conditional for me even when it shouldn't be. If they couldn't love me, then it isn't safe to be loved by anyone. I am making this too easy for them by being this available. I am not the kind of person people stay for. Each of those is the same story with different weather. And the story is a story. And the story is the thing that is currently running your next year. Not the breakup, not their leaving, the story. And I want to show you something about the story that you may not have been shown until tonight. It's not the story that broke your heart. The story broke your heart. But the story is not what's keeping the hole open. The hole is kept open by the meaning you've been giving the story. Two thinkers I have been reading since I was 25 years old. One a German doctor and philosopher. One a Russian novelist writing at the edge of the 19th century. Both taught me, in two different centuries, in two different languages, in two different rooms, the same thing. Suffering is not the enemy. Meaningless suffering is the enemy. Suffering with meaning is called transformation. Suffering without meaning is called decay. The same event, a breakup, an avoidance deactivation, a sentence that hollowed you out in a kitchen at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, can be either. The difference is not the event. The difference is the meaning. Now, if you suffered as a kid, if the people who were supposed to hold you didn't hold you the way you needed to be held, if love in your household was conditional on performance, if the only way to be safe as a child was to be invisible, and if you carried that into adulthood, and if you then watched someone you loved deactivate on you, I want to show you what you have been refusing to see. It's been a handbook of survival in disguise. The fact that you were alone in childhood means as an adult you learned a self-sufficiency that most people never build. The fact that nobody supported you means as an adult you have no fear of standing on your own. The fact that love was conditional for you as a child means as an adult you are no longer willing to accept conditional love. The fact that you spent most of your life afraid of abandonment means, as an adult, you are the rare human being who can stand inside their own abandonment without running. Do you see? The wound is the doorway. The wound is not the verdict. The wound is the thing that once you understand it, becomes the superpower you had been running away from. Their leaving became yours because your wiring was already primed to treat leaving as a witness to your value. But their leaving is not a witness to your value. Their leaving is a witness to their wiring, and your wiring, the part that got forged in the fire of being left as a child, is not a curse. It is the foundation you are going to build a different life on. Let that breathe. You don't experience life, you experience the life you focus on. Now let me give you the second inversion, because the second inversion is what is going to change your experience of the next 90 days. If you are the person whose partner just delivered this sentence, you are going to have one of two relationships with the sentence for the rest of your life. 1, a grievance. 2, a graduation. The grievance is the one where they stay small inside you forever, and you live with a small open wound that reopens every time you remember their face. The graduation is the one where you look back 2 years from now and say, that was the most painful sentence anyone ever said to me. And it is also the sentence that taught me that love is not a thing another person does. Love is a thing you are. Make a decision right now which one you are going to pick. I don't think you're going to pick the grievance. I think you picked the graduation before you pressed play tonight. I think some part of you, some part that was watching, some part that is older than the wound, heard that sentence and treated it as the call, not the verdict. The call to a different life. The call to a different version of you. The call to a dragon that you, and only you, were ever going to face. And the facing of that dragon, the willingness to walk into it, is what is going to make you bigger than the sentence was ever going to break you. You become the hero. Now I'm going to give you the drill, because a Tony talk without a drill is philosophy without a tool, and tools are what change lives. Philosophy is the language the change is going to live in. The drill is where it actually happens. Here is the drill. It is 90 seconds. It is non-negotiable. It has to happen tonight, and it has to happen the next 49 nights after tonight. If you skip nights, the count restarts. The discipline isn't optional. The drill isn't optional. Tonight, before you touch your phone, before you open their profile, before you read the thread again, before you type the message you are not going to send, take 90 seconds. Sit somewhere quiet. Stand somewhere quiet if you can't sit. Close your eyes if you want to. Take 3 breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Slow. Don't rush the breaths. Don't make them busy. Make them long. After the 3rd breath, out loud, not in your head, out loud, with your own voice in your own room, say this sentence. I release the part of me that needs them to come back in order for me to be whole. Say it once. Say it twice. Say it until you feel something in your body that says yes. Not until the words sound elegant. Until your body says yes. Then tonight, before bed, and this part of the drill is the part most people forget, write down 3 things you would not trade. Don't make them big. Don't make them clever. Make them real. The reason this works is not because gratitude is a virtue. The reason this works is that gratitude reroutes your focus in a single neurological step. And what is rerouted is what you experience for the next 6 hours. That's it. 90 seconds. Twice in a day if you have to. For 50 nights. Now let me tell you why it works. The drill works because the meaning of what they did is the only thing keeping the wound open. The wound itself is not keeping the wound open. The meaning is. And the meaning can be replaced in 90 seconds with a single sentence spoken out loud from your own jaw, in your own voice, into your own room. The vibration of your own voice saying the sentence is the most important part of the drill, because the vibration puts the sentence in your body, not just in your mind. And the body is where the meaning lives. The drill also works because the spoken sentence is a contract. The contract between you and yourself. The contract that says, the next time I am inside this pull, I am not going to do the unconscious third decision. I am going to do the conscious one. I am going to feel the feeling, hear the sentence, and not act as if the feeling is the truth about my life. Now, the 4 steps. Because the 4 steps are going to let you see where you are and where you are not. And they are the same ladder I have used with people for the last 40 years. Unconscious incompetence. You didn't know what you didn't know. You arrived at the relationship without the map. You didn't know what an avoidant was. You didn't know what deactivation was. You didn't know the body could love and leave in the same sentence. This is the floor. Most people are at this floor for the first 2 years of their life with someone like this. The floor is not a sin. The floor is just the floor. Conscious incompetence, you know what you don't know. You can no longer unknow it. You know the avoidant pattern. You can name their language. You can feel their geometry. You have seen the dance from outside. The second floor is the uncomfortable floor. The second floor is where most people quit. The second floor is where you freeze, because you can see the pattern, but you cannot yet operate differently inside it. Most people are at this floor for the next 18 months of their life if they don't have a drill. Conscious competence, you are operating the new pattern on purpose. You're choosing your focus. You're choosing your meaning. You're choosing your actions consciously. You are not reacting from the old wiring. You are responding from the new wiring. It is not natural yet. It takes effort. It takes a drill. You are at the 3rd floor anytime you do the 90-second ritual without losing a beat. Unconscious competence. The recovery is in your body. You don't have to think about it. You walk into a room and the new wiring just runs. You hear someone say, we shouldn't be together. Your own body doesn't collapse. Your own body doesn't perform. Your own body doesn't attach. Your own body responds from a place the rewiring has built. This is the 4th floor. This is the floor where you are living when you are no longer the person they deactivated. The 4th floor is also the floor where 2 years from now you might run into them at a party and feel nothing but gratitude for the sentence that almost killed you. You can be at the 4th floor. You can be there in a year. You can be there in 8 months. You can be there in 3 if you actually do the drill. Now, I want to give you one more thing tonight. I want to give you the architecture of what I'm saying, because the architecture is what makes it stick when the analogies stop and the drill is over and you are alone with yourself again in a quiet house. The architecture is this. You tried to keep the love because the love was the only measurement you had. You registered the leaving as a verdict about the love. You registered the verdict as a verdict about you. And the verdict, which was never yours, owned the next 6 months of your life. That is the architecture. The disruption of the architecture is this. The leaving was not a verdict about you. The leaving was a verdict about their capacity for closeness. Their capacity is theirs. Their verdict is theirs. Their leaving is theirs. And the verdict did not have to become a fact about your body. The verdict could stay a fact about theirs. And once it stays a fact about theirs, it can leave. Let me say that again. The verdict can leave. Wishes without work are delusions. Work without a why is just effort. The why for you, if you have to name it tonight, is bigger than their name. The why for you is the deep version of this. The deep version is that you are being asked in a way that doesn't always look like an invitation to be the love that you wanted to give them back to yourself first. You were being asked to learn the love that you wanted to give them and then to keep it for your own house. That is not a consolation prize. That is the actual prize. Listen, you owe it to you to become who you really are, not what they needed, not what they couldn't hold. Who you actually are when the relationship is not asking you to perform a version of yourself that you have to hold in place just to keep it. You are bigger than their capacity. You are bigger than their wiring. You are bigger than their sentence, and I want to offer you one last inversion tonight. The third. If you focus on what they took from you, you are inside their consciousness for the rest of your life. If you focus on what you are going to build without them, you are inside your own. Both worlds exist. Both worlds are real. You pick the world by where the focus lands. The focus is the master key. Now here's what I'm going to leave you with. You don't experience life. You experience the life you focus on. Find something you care about more than yourself, and you won't need the focus that keeps you small. The hero's journey doesn't end when you're dead. It continues in the lives you change, including the life you change tonight by becoming the kind of person who's leaving doesn't get to flatten them. And I know I'm right about this, because I have sat in 5 million rooms, and the people who come through the bedroom door on the other side of this sentence are not the people with the best resumes. They are not the smartest. They are not the most charismatic. They are the ones who refuse to settle for a verdict that was never theirs. They are the ones who, when they heard the sentence, knew that the sentence did not belong to them. They put the sentence down. They walked into the next room of their life holding only what was theirs. They became the love that the other person could not hold. They became the healing that the leaving triggered. They became the answer to a question the partner didn't even know they were asking. You can be that person. Tonight, before you sleep, you don't lose what you deserve. You deserve the kind of love that doesn't deactivate when it gets nervous. You deserve the kind of love that doesn't disappear when it gets scared. And until that love arrives in the form of a human body, you deserve the kind of love that you give yourself. The love that doesn't vanish when you sleep. The love that doesn't take a step back when you are most available. The love that doesn't flinch. The love that stays. Figure it out. You owe it to you. Become the love that they couldn't hold. Become the healing that their leaving triggered. Become the person whose body is the only home your heart doesn't have to leave. Figure it out. You owe it to you to become who you really are.